Let us close the eyes. With deep love, let us remember God and the Masters. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May God protect us all. May we take food together. May we pray and meditate together. May we attain wisdom through our study and discussion. May there be no conflict among us. May there be peace everywhere. Om. Amen. I bow to omnipresent God and all the saints and sages of all times and places. I bow to lineage of Kriya Yoga masters. I bow to living power of God in each one of you. Good evening. We are thankful to God and the masters for all their beautiful teachings they have given to us from time to time. So today's the third lecture in this series, Mystery of Death. In our previous classes, we have discussed different forms of death, the stages of death, that when the prana leaves the body, the energy leaves this mortal frame, it does not leave immediately, but 5 different divisions of prana, they leave one after the other at certain period we discussed last time. The last one is the Vyana, which is leaving between 11 to 14 days after the death. Now today we are going to discuss about what happens to an individual soul after death. What is its fate? Where does it go? What does it do? So the fate of soul depends on 5 things. When a person has departed, person leaves the physical frame here, but the astral body, causal body, mind and memory, they are transmigrated to the next higher plane of existence. So the fate of an individual death depends upon 5 factors. Number 1, his previous deeds. Whatever actions a person has performed during this lifetime, depending on the movement of soul to the higher plane, will be decided. Second is person's state of mind at the time of death. Is the person suffering or leaving the body happily? That also is a deciding factor for the next journey. The time of his death, whether the person has left the body at an auspicious time or inauspicious moment, because as per the Vedic astrology, there are certain times, like we call it Panchaka, certain combination of constellation, day and moment. If the soul leaves at that moment, then it is considered as inauspicious, and this movement of soul for the higher plane is affected. The fourth factor is the activities of his children. Whether the children are doing some prayers for the departed soul or they are crying and fighting among each other. Fifth one is the grace of God. So by grace of God, the soul can ascend quickly and moves on the path very easily with love, with peace and happiness. So we'll discuss a little bit more. The first factor which decides the fate of an individual upon death. First is his own previous deeds or actions. If a person has committed many bad deeds in his life, he will go to the lower worlds and suffer from the consequences of his evil actions. On the contrary, if a person has performed good actions, he will go to the higher planes and he will enjoy the life there. The second factor, the person's state of mind at the time of death. That is what the thoughts and what desires were predominant in his consciousness at the time of his death. It will decide in which direction the jiva will go. Jiva means individual soul. It will travel and in what form it will appear again on this earth planet. For example, if a person is thinking of his family and children at the time of death, very likely he will go to the world of ancestors and will be born again in that family, because he's thinking of his own family at the time of death, so it will bring him back to the same family. If a person is thinking of money matters at the time of his death, very likely he will travel to the world of Lord Vishnu and will be born again as a merchant or as a trader in his next birth. If a person is thinking of evil and negative things, he will go to the lower worlds and suffers in the hands of evil people. His suffering may either reform him or push him deeper into the evil, depending upon his previous tendencies or impressions. If he is thinking of God at the time of death, he will go to the highest world and may be liberated. The third factor, the time of person's death. The time and circumstances related to death are also important. For example, it is believed that if a person dies on a battlefield, he will attain the heaven of the warriors, because he has done his duty, and as a warrior, as a soldier, his foremost duty is to protect the country, protect the land or citizens of his country. So it is the highest dharma. So he will attain the heaven of the warriors. If someone dies on a festival day or an auspicious day while performing some puja or devotional chanting in the house, he will go to heaven irrespective of his previous actions. And as I said that if a person has died during the Panchaka, very inauspicious moment, then he has to go to the lower realms of the world, Netherlands. Fourth factor, the activities of person's children. That means whether they perform the funeral rites in the prescribed manner and satisfy the scriptural injunctions or not. There is a belief that if funeral rites are not performed according to the tradition, it will delay the journey of the souls to their respective worlds. The fifth one is the grace of God. God in the form of a personal deity, we call it Ishtadeva or Ishtadevi, may often interfere with the fate of an individual and change the course of his or her afterlife. That is why we choose a personal deity in India, a form of any aspect of divinity, and we are constantly thinking of that, chanting mantras. That is called personal deity. We have instances where God rescued his devotees from the hands of the messenger of death and placed them in the highest heaven in recognition of their meritorious deeds. In the last class, I told you about the story of sage Markandeya, that how Lord Shiva appeared and saved him and made him immortal. However, now what is really happening after death? This is very interesting question and very interesting journey. Where does it go and how it moves? So let's discuss this journey of soul. After death, how does it go to different planes of existence? We call them loka, just like Prithvi, the earth, Prithvi Loka, planet earth. So also there are different higher and lower planes of existence. There are 7 planes of existence higher and 7 are lower planes of existence below the earth. If you read Jnana Sankalini Tantra, Guruji has written beautiful commentary on that, and in the beginning pages there is a beautiful diagram in which these planes are mentioned. In our scriptures they are mentioned as 14 lokas or Chaudah Bhuvana. So 7 are symbolically present in the chakras, like bottom center, second center, and so on. So Bhuloka, Bhuvaloka, Swahaloka, Mahaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Satyaloka. And below the bottom center, there are 7 lower planes of existence: Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Rasatala, and Patala. However, as death nears, soul builds up an astral body with the subtle elements of the gross body and embarks on the preparation for the final journey. We all know that gross body is made up of 5 gross elements. So the subtle body is made up of subtle elements. And subtle body constitutes also mind, memory, intellect, and ego. The natural defects which are found in gross body are never transferred to astral body. The soul, assuming radiant form, stands near the head of the dead body. While abandoning the gross body, soul does not want to relinquish so soon the coexistence with body and also the affection and intimacy with the gross body for a long period of time. So if you see in the diagram, when the soul leaves the body, you can see a thread from the head of the dead body to the feet of the astral body, which I am going to discuss in detail. A subtle radiant thread or cord of organic electric power is noticed connecting the feet of the astral body present in space with the head of the dead body. From this, it is apparent that death is nothing but rebirth. At the time of birth, man comes over the earth by wearing an umbilical cord around the throat. So we see that when the baby comes out of the womb, it is still connected with the navel. Exactly in the same way, at the time of death, the astral body is born in the space with the help of the luminous and subtle life cord of subtle electric cells. The life cord or subtle electric tissues keep connecting the dead body with the astral body for some time. And for this reason, the dead body should not be cremated as soon as one dies. This invisible cord of the astral body fails to be disconnected for some time as the exchange of experiences and wisdom between the gross body and subtle body continues through it. Just like we are transferring the data and connecting it with the computer, another hard drive. Similarly, this electric cord transferring all the experiences and memory from this lifetime through this dead body to this subtle body, which is having our mind and memory. And this time is approximately 45 minutes to 3 hours to transfer all these memories and experiences to the subtle body. And that's why we don't immediately cremate it. Now, remember this period of time for exchanging the experience and memory to subtle body, because further it will come for our discussion why it is important. When soul is completely separated from the dead body, the astral body has to use air for breathing, not from ordinary atmosphere, but from the inner part of the spiritual atmosphere. Initially, it becomes difficult for the soul to breathe the spiritual air, but within moments, that inconvenience disappears. Thereafter, the soul can inhale and exhale quite comfortably. At the time of this change, the body is destroyed and the complete dissipation of egoism of the dweller of the body is not accomplished. The body is dead, but the ego is still there. When the formation of the subtle body is completed and connecting electric cord is snapped off after death, soul descends from the void. At that time, 2 or 4 spirits meet him, matching his action or wisdom. We call them the messenger of death. Then he slowly starts moving with them and goes to the appropriate abode as per the fruit of his action. The sinful persons wander in the realm of ghosts like blind men. The symptoms of pain which are found at the time of death help clearing the path for the departure of the soul. In normal death, person falls unconscious. At that time, soul loses the knowledge of happiness and grief. It is in completely neutral state. After the completion of Puraka Pinda, Puraka Pinda is the death ritual. It starts immediately after the death as per the Hindu scriptures, or it is a Vedic tradition, part of Shraddha. So Pinda means a rice ball, which is offered at just after the death. So death rituals which help formation of the organs for the spirit body on the day beginning with funeral ceremony. So the astral body is formed, but soul is still there in that atmosphere, and it is called Preta Deha. The subtle body, it is known as soul along with the subtle body. It is not ascended, it is just suspended there, left the body, but it is in the same atmosphere, and it is known as Preta Deha, means body of spirit. And soul endures and enjoys the fruits of his karma. All have to assume the body of spirit except children and animals. The little children, if they die before the age of like 3, they don't assume this spirit body, but they immediately ascend to higher plane. Similarly, animals are not subject to this. The world where the spirit resides is known as Bhuvaha Loka. Our plane of existence, this earth is Bhuloka, bottom center. Bhuvaha Loka, second center. This is the Loka or world of Preta, means spirits, spirit world. No doubt the state of death is pleasant. Nevertheless, the departed soul fails to remember his own self. That means I am dead. This fact remains completely unknown to spirit because it has just separated from the gross body and the ego is still there. So it does not accept that it is dead. In this state, means in this spirit state, dead people suffer from various pains and agonies. And it is difficult to say how long one will suffer in this state. No one can surmount this state unless his desire or ambition is extinguished. Just as one's dream is shattered when one is awakened from his sleep, similarly, when spirit is told about his mistake or is reminded of his death, there takes place a great change because spirit does not accept, it doesn't uh, accept that it has already died. So we have to remind the spirit that you are no more in the physical body. Don't stay here to and try to come back to this dead body because you cannot, but you have to go further on your onward journey. And that reminder is known as Shraddha. There is an elaborate Vedic procedure with Vedic prayers in which the soul is reminded that you are no more in this body and you have to move forward. As soon as the spirit understands or knows that he is dead, he gets rid of the state of spirit and moves upward on the path of gradual elevation. If the soul is not reminded, means the spirit is not reminded about the death, that you are already dead, then it still remains in spirit form. It cannot come back to the gross body because there is no possibility, and it cannot ascend to higher planes. So it remains suspended. That's why it is known as spirit or ghost. None but Sadguru, realized master, is capable of helping the spirit at this time of change. That is why you must have a realized master who prays and who remembers when you are departed. So that realized master helps the spirit to ascend, not to remain in suspended form. So from Bhuloka, from the earth planet, the spirit is there. Now it has to move to the Bhuvaha Loka, the next plane. Bhuvaha Loka is of twofold. And there are two sections you can say. One is known as Preta Loka, the abode of spirits, and another section is known as Pitru Loka, abode of ancestors. So every spirit has to go to a certain place in Bhuvaha Loka, and after some time it meets the ancestors in the same plane in another section. An individual living being lives in this world for some time and moves up to Mahaloka. So let me just give you the idea of these lokas by diagram. If you see here in the diagram, this bottom center, Bhuloka, where we all live, the mortals, plane of mortals. Bhualoka, second center, which is symbolically here. This is the plane where two sections are there, Pitraloka and Pretaloka, the abode of spirits and then abode of our ancestors. So they meet there. So this journey from Bhuloka to Bhualoka we'll discuss little later. And from here, The soul ascends depending on its action to be exhausted to Swahaloka, then Mahaloka, then Jana, Tapa and Satya for final liberation. But so these are the lokas. Now, soul is leaving the bottom center, or you can say this earth planet, and it reaches the higher planes one after the other. It spends some times in Pitraloka, the plane of ancestors or the abode of spirits, and then it moves slowly up and on Mahaloka. Mahaloka is near the heart center symbolically. Soul becomes unconscious. When it reaches Mahaloka, soul becomes unconscious. And remember, let me clarify here. The spirit, when the astral body is formed, it is called spirit, and soul is associated with astral causal body, mind and memory. Once the soul is reminded that it is no more existing in this earth planet, it has left the physical body, immediately spirit form is left behind. So it is free from that suspended form, and the soul starts moving to the Bhuvaloka, the next plane, second one. So spirit form is no more. But unless it is reminded, it remains in spirit form, it cannot ascend. However, so from Bhuvaloka to Swaloka, then when the soul reaches Mahaloka, it becomes unconscious and oblivious, and then it returns to the earth to be born again. There is no definite limit as to how long one will remain there and when one will be born again. Someone may be born after first death anniversary, that means within a year. Someone else may be born after one generation. The Hindu scriptures have made the provision for the celebration of Shraddha, as I said, death anniversary rituals, for 4 consecutive generations due to absence of definite length of time. We don't know how long the soul has to remain in which plane. So for 4 generations, we continue praying. Like, suppose if I am here, so I will pray for my departed parents, then father, then their parents, grandparents, great grandparents, at least 4 generations we remember, and we offer prayers every year during the month of September, which is called annual death anniversary rituals during 15 days. Normally, one is born again within 4 generations in the same family, because we have tie-ups, we have prarabdha, destiny, karma to exhaust with the same set of people. So normally one is born again within 4 generations in the same family, although the relationship will change. For example, a person who is your wife or husband in this lifetime, it may be your child, your nephew, your mother-in-law, some other relationship, but within the same circle of family. This death rituals, Shraddha, removes several obstacles on the path of liberation of the departed soul. But there can be no liberation in the absence of one's own effort. We pray, but the soul also has to make effort. What does it mean? The subtle body and the mind which is associated with the subtle body and soul, it should not be attached again, otherwise it will not ascend. Just like a leaf needs a slight push. Suppose there is a fallen leaf. It needs a slight push to be released from the whirlpool, to be restored to its motion in water with the help of waves. So it happens to the departed soul on the celebration of Shraddha. It gives just a little push to move them. The departed soul is capable of acquiring the knowledge of death through the rites of Shraddha. He then knows he is dead. This is the importance of those Vedic prayers we call them Shraddha. There is no need of celebration of Shraddha for a yogi, a jnani, a person of knowledge, or a man of ease, simple man. Simple means who has lived very pious life, pure life. The subtle body of saints and monks are formed as soon as they relinquish the gross body. So they don't remain in spirit form. Who? A jnani means person of knowledge, a yogi, saint and monks, they don't acquire the spirit body. They immediately become free after death and the soul ascends with the subtle body. Now, after normal death, soul moves first to the Bhuvaloka, as I showed, from the bottom center to second center. So from Bhuloka to Bhuvaloka, then to Swahaloka, only after awakening of the self. Means it has to remember that it is going on onward journey. Otherwise, it remains in the other plane, still enjoying there or remaining engrossed or enjoying with the ancestors or previous relatives. In Pitraloka, you can see all your relatives and friends who have departed. The departed soul enjoys happiness or grief in the above realms as per the virtues and vices committed by him on the earth. Later, it goes over to Mahaloka, where in the absence of bhoga deha, means absence of this physical body, he comes back to the earth to be born again. Because the sanchit karma is still there, so new set of prarabdha destiny will be formed, and according to those karma, the person is reborn. The people who have annihilated desires and ambitions, who have taken shelter under the realized master or God, but they lacked the supreme divine experience or wisdom, they arrive at Janaloka, Tapaloka, and then Satyaloka, passing through Mahaloka. And they remain there till the great dissolution, and finally they attain Brahma Nirvana. They become completely merged with God. There is no more existence of soul. This is known as Krama Mukti, gradual salvation. But the ordinary person becomes unconscious upon reaching the Mahaloka. Only advanced people can cross the Mahaloka and further move for their gradual liberation. But the travelers on the path of gradual liberation attain the knowledge of self as soon as they reach Mahaloka. So reaching Mahaloka, spiritually advanced people, they attain the knowledge of self and then they further move. But ordinary person, they become oblivious of their own self, and then they are supposed to be reborn and come back to the earth planet. According to Hindu scriptures, the soul of an organism is not free from the cycle of rebirth so long as he is not liberated from the fetters of desires and ambitions. Because of our unfulfilled desires and some ambitions, we come back. Individual soul relinquishes the gross body and assumes subtle form and goes over to the world of spirit. And there he enjoys the fruits of his action, the remnant of his unspent actions form the stamp of the impression on the individual soul, who is born again on the earth to exhaust the uh, unfinished fruits of action. It is a mysterious and divine play. The yogis only know and see how the desires prone individual being are fettered by the thread of impressions enter into the womb of a mother. After the extinction of the result of one's own action, when the time of rebirth approaches, then soul rises up to Mahaloka. Suppose the soul is in Swaloka or in Bhuvaloka, the plane of mains or ancestors. Then when the time comes for rebirth, then it reaches Mahaloka, and from there the soul falls on the earth, mingling with the dew drops and gets absorbed by some plants or herb. His fall, absorption and transformation are preordained as per the law of karma or the destiny prarabdha. This is the description from Chandogya Upanishad I am quoting. I am translating from the Sanskrit mantra from Chandogya Upanishad. After the extinction of the result of one's action, when the time of rebirth approaches, the soul rises to Mahaloka and from there he falls on the Bhuvaloka earth planet. How does it come back? It mingles with the dew drops and gets absorbed by some plant or herbs as per the destiny. Means if somebody is destined to be born in USA, so the soul will be falling with the dewdrops somewhere here where he is supposed to be born. Now he falls only on the chosen place from where he will be consumed by a definite male organism. Later on, he is from that specific organism, he is transferred. Hence, his fall on the earth is conditioned by the suitability of place, time, and person from whom he will take birth. That means the plant which has absorbed the soul with dewdrops, the fruit or vegetable which is eaten by the person, it will reach the same person by whom the soul has to take birth. So he goes into the stomach of the male organism with his food. Afterwards, by the natural process of metabolism, he gradually passes through enzymes, blood, and bone marrow, and finally remains present in the gene of the male organism. Afterwards, at the advent of appropriate moment, it comes out as the male force to unite with female force in the reproductive organ of the female organism. And after fertilization, its gross body is formed in the embryonic stage through the natural process. The action and the nature of individual soul again govern this formation of the gross body. So a person's gross body is formed according to his action, nature, and also in accordance with time, place, and person, which is mentioned in the Yoga Sutra Patanjali, Jati Ayu Bhoga. The body must accomplish the purpose for which it is formed. So it depends on the place, time, and actions. If one is destined to suffer from a disease or any handicap, he undergoes such suffering in that specific body. So if the person is destined to suffer from a disease or any handicap, so his body will be formed according to that in the mother's womb, and it will come out like that. In the Vedanta, there are two paths are mentioned by which the departed soul may proceed to enjoy the fruits of action performed during their lifetime on the earth. So one is called Devayana, as you see here in the diagram. One is called Devayana, Archimarga, and other is Pitrayana, Dhumramarga. So Devayana is path of light, path of enjoyment, and Dhumramarga, Dhumra means the darkness or smoke. This is path of darkness. So according to one's own actions performed in this lifetime, the soul ascends to the higher plane. Sorry. Devayana leads to the region of Brahma known as the Satyaloka, means path leading towards the light and God. Through the different spheres, means Brahmaloka is in the fontanelle, Satyaloka. The soul goes from earth to this higher plane of existence. This is known as Devayana, path of pleasant, very light, full of light. But there are different spheres before reaching this. So those planes are known as the Archi, Agni plane, the day and bright half of the lunar month, that is known as Shukla Paksha, the bright fortnight, the 6 months of the sun's passage to the northern solstice, which is known as Uttarayana, the year, the Devas, the Vayu, the sun and the moon, the lightning, the region of Varuna, water god, region of Indra, ruler in heaven, and region of Prajapati. So there are different subtle planes before reaching the Satyaloka. So this is about the path of light, Devayana. And what is Pitrayana? Path of darkness. So Pitrayana, from Earth planet, the soul moves to the next plane. So if the actions are not good in this lifetime, then soul is following Pitrayana. So in Pitrayana, it leads to Chandraloka. You can say Dhumaloka. Chandra means the moon, region of moon. So through a quite different path consisting of the spheres such as those of smoke and darkness, night, the 6 months of sun's passage to the southern solstice, which is known as Dakshinayana, year, the Pitraloka, the world of ancestors, and the ether. So these are two, in simple way you can say, one is path of light, one is path of smoke, darkness. So which path the soul has to take depends on one's own actions performed on this earth planet in this lifetime. One who goes by Devayana has to come back again to this world but remains in Brahmaloka till the end of the cycle. End of the cycle means the complete era, when he attains complete absorption in Brahman. So one has to remain there. So Devayana leads one to higher planes of existence, sun, fire, and so on. And then one reaches the Brahmaloka, Satyaloka here, and remains there until there is complete absorption of this creation. In Bhagavad Gita, you can find these two paths which I just explained, along with the soul travel after death. One is called path of sun, other is known as path of moon. So path of sun is the bright path, and path of, or you can say path of gods, and path of moon, also known as dark path, and the path of ancestors, the same thing, Pitrayana and Devayana. When a soul travels along the path of sun, it never returns again, while those who travel along the path of moon, they return to be reborn. How is the path of sun attained? So here is the verse from Bhagavad Gita. This is from Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, verse number 24 to 26, 3 verses. They explain these two paths. Agnir Jyotihi Ahaha Shuklah Shanmasaya Uttarayanam Tatra Prayata Gachanti Brahma Brahmavido Janaha Dhumo Ratris Tatha Krishna Shanmasa Dakshinayanam Tatra Chandramasam Jyoti Yogi Prapya Nivartate Shukla Krishne Gati Hete Jagatah Shashvate Mate Ekaya Yatyanyavrattim Anyaya Vartate Punha. I explained already this. There's two paths. So these are the two paths of the world, the light and the darkness. They are considered everlasting. Proceeding on the path of light, one does not return, and proceeding on the path of darkness, one returns to this world. Same concept you can find in the Holy Bhagavatam, where it is mentioned, Archishcha Aha Shukla Paksha Uttaranam Evacha Samvatsaras Tatha Aditya Chandrama Vidyut Evacha. First, soul goes to Archi. Archi is fire. From there it goes to day, to bright fortnight, then to Uttarayana, then to Samvatsara, then to Aditya, the sun, then to moon, and to lightning. These are subtle planes of existence. We will not go into that detail. Tatah tatpurusha nama nayatyenama manavah brahmalokam param gyatva yato navartate puman. It is in Bhagavatam. From there, the amanava tatpurusha goes to Brahmaloka. Reaching Brahmaloka, he does not return. However, so this is the journey of soul. Now, Lord Krishna has provided the clue in these following verses. What he says, which we discussed, controlling all the openings of the body, means all the doors, eyes, ears, etc., with the mind established in the heart. Remember, heart here is not physical heart. Heart, for the yogi, heart is the brain. That means in fontanelle. Fixing the prana in the self, means soul center and in cranium, at the top of the head, establishing oneself in the yoga, uttering the single syllable Om, which is Brahman, who leaves the body remembering God, achieves the highest goal. This is in 8th chapters, verse number 12 and 13. And in the same chapter, we are also informed that all worlds, including that of Brahma, the creator, are subject to rebirth. But on reaching him, there is no birth. Means if you go to any other world, higher plane, you are supposed to be born again. But if you reach this Satyaloka, then you are not going to be reborn, you are liberated. If you remember in our last class, I told you about the Ichamrityu, death at will, where I mentioned in Mahabharata, the battle of Mahabharata, grandfather Bhishma, he was shot down with the arrows. So whole body was pierced with the arrows, and he was lying down on the bed of arrows, waiting for leaving his body until the sun moves to northern hemisphere, which is Uttarayana, because that is the auspicious moment to leave the body. What is Uttarayana? Uttarayana means, physically, if we say what is Uttarayan, when the sun starts moving in the northern hemisphere, means when from the month of January till month of July, the sun starts in moving in northern hemisphere. We call it Makar Sankranti, January 14th. It starts moving into the northern hemisphere, and after that, next 6 months in the Dakshinayana. Now, what is Uttarayana? From bottom center, when we inhale and when we are going up. So bottom center is the south pole, fontanelle is the north pole. So when we are moving up, this is from south to north, and sun is here, the soul is here, which is the solar energy or sun. So we are moving towards the sun, towards the path of light, path of brightness. So when we are moving up from bottom center to fontanelle, that means when there is evolution, we are progressing upward. This is Uttarayan. So when we leave the soul, means the body leaves the soul, remaining in fontanelle or up, then it is living in Uttarayan, means getting liberated. And below, if this prana goes down, so it is going down means from north it is going to the south, that is Dakshinayana. So in Dakshinayana, if you leave the body, then you are going to be reborn. This is all symbolic, however. So that is what, when the consciousness moves up towards the fontanelle, is Uttarayana. More details from these verses of Bhagavad Gita about soul's journey are mentioned in Bhagavatam, the third book of Bhagavatam, where is this description of Archi Marga, Dhumra Marga in Kapil Devahuti Samvada. However, it's very detailed in Bhagavatam, so I'll skip that part. We just need to know that how soul goes and comes back. So what do we understand? That when the soul leaves the body, there is formation of astral body, and there is electrical subtle cord is connected from the feet of the subtle body to the head of the dead body, and all the memories are transferred, experiences are transferred, because we carry the same mind, memory, astral and subtle body with the soul to next plane. So the soul goes to from, and once this exchange of experience and memory is done, then this cord is cut off, and then soul, which is still remaining in that atmosphere, which is known as spirit form, and we do some Vedic prayers which reminds the soul that you are dead. Then it ascends, it leaves the spirit form, and before leaving the spirit form, the Vedic procedure is there for 13 days, which I'm going to explain in the next class, that how it forms the astral body step by step and makes it free from that spirit state or suspended state. After that, it goes to the next plane, plane of ancestors, Pitraloka. What does it do in Pitraloka? I'll discuss in the next class in more detail. And from Pitraloka, it goes to Swahaloka, which is also the plane of existence of advanced souls. From there, it goes to Mahaloka, advanced soul, more advanced soul. And from Mahaloka, it is coming back. If the person is not realized, the soul is reborn on the earth planet Bhuloka. If the person is realized or very advanced spiritually, then it further moves up from Mahaloka to Janaloka to Tapaloka and Satyaloka. If you remember, in Autobiography of a Yogi, Paramahansa Yoganandaji was meditating in Mumbai hotel, and Swami Shri Yukteswarji appeared to him almost after 3 months of his physical departure. And he appeared, and then there's a complete chapter, you can read it, where Swami Shri Yukteswarji has explained, telling that he was staying in Hiranyaloka. So Hiranyaloka is like a soul center or throat center. That means Janaloka or Tapaloka, somewhere here. I'm not sure, but it is here. And he said that there is no suffering, people are very happy. And he said that he was helping the advanced souls in their meditation, because still the subtle body is there. The final liberation is when we leave the subtle and causal body also like gross body. So only soul merges with the divinity. That is final liberation. So beautiful description in Autobiography of a Yogi, that what happens in those higher planes, Swami Shri Yukteswar is explained. But we are concerned more about what is happening here now. So on account of this fact, it is said that the soul, mm, there is like a food, as it were, to the gods. Means when the soul it departs, so we offer some rice balls. We call them pinda. As a process of Shraddha, Shraddha has come from Shraddha. With faith, we pray for them and offer rice balls and some water. So the soul comes back if this person is not realized, and it comes out from the same path. As I explained from Chandogya Upanishad, then from Mahaloka it comes back to the earth planet, and it is reborn. The soul comes back to the space through which it rose up, then it comes down to the realm of air, with which it gets identified with subtly, very subtly. Then it comes down to the level of smoke, the clouds, and the rain, and one knows the whole process as we discussed. So this is the in short journey, although there is more detail, but just this much. There's one question, that what is the condition after death for a normal human being? So there are four possibilities of movement. I just explained that how soul goes, but what is the movement of soul? What are the possibilities? So in short, let me tell you quickly. Number one, what is the condition of death after death for a normal human being? First condition, if a person is very virtuous and has too many merits that he cannot exhaust them in human body, then he goes to heaven, which is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita, Kshine Punye Martya Lokam Vishanti. When they have thus enjoyed heavenly sense pleasures, they return to the mortal planet again. Means you have too many good actions, merits, and you cannot exhaust them in human body, then you carry them and you go to a certain place which is known as heaven. Place means it's a state. Again, it's a subtle plane, you can say. And once you exhaust those good karma, then you come back to the earth planet and you are reborn. So heaven is not a permanent place. Heaven is not liberation. In the Vedic tradition or Hindu scriptures, heaven is not liberation. So heaven is just a state where you go, you enjoy your good karma. Once you exhaust, come back, like a vacation. Second condition, if a person is very wise and has too many demerits that he cannot exhaust them in human body and still he has that load of karma, then he goes to the hell. When these wise karmas or evil karmas are weak, after exhaustion, he returns to the earth planet and is born. Third possibility, if the merits and demerits are not entitled to send him to heaven or hell, or his last wish is to be born on the earth, then he is reborn immediately. I told you already that last thought or desire before death determines what is going to happen to the soul immediately after death. So if the merits and demerits are not entitled to send a soul to heaven or hell, or his last wish is to be born on earth, then he is reborn immediately, like within 3 months. If he if and but there's a condition, if his would-be parents are already born, then he will be born immediately. But suppose his wish is to be born on the earth, but as per his destiny or the next prarabdha karma, set of karma, those who are going to become his parents are not yet born, so he has to wait in Pitraloka. Otherwise, one can born immediately. So, if would-be parents are already born and the environment to exhaust his prarabdha is favorable, then immediate birth. Otherwise, he has to go to Pitraloka, plane of ancestors, until favorable circumstances are present on earth. Fourth possibility after death. There are some people who have very strong attachment or hatred to someone while leaving the body. It happens that we have lots of dislikes, hatred towards some very close person, maybe wife, husband, or child, or whomever. And at the time of death, still we are having that impression or thought of strong attachment or hatred, and we leave the body. Then such people are born as human or animal on earth in the family of snake. Oh, sorry, in the family of people with whom they have strong attachment or hatred. So remember, it's very important. If you have very strong attachment or hatred with any person in your family, then you will be reborn and again come in contact with that person with some form of relationship to exhaust your own likes, dislikes, and karma. Greedy for wealth are born as snake. Sometimes their impressions are not conducive towards their subject of hatred for human birth. Then they become ghost or goblin. As I said, that depending on the actions, one can ascend or one can go to the lower realms of planes or existence. So if the impressions are not conducive towards the subject of hatred for human birth, means person has so much hatred, so much negative attachment that it is not sufficient or conducive for that soul to be born as human, even he doesn't deserve to be human, then that person can become ghost or goblin and has to live for thousands of years in that form. You might be a little scared about these two words, heaven and hell. Let me clarify something. After death, just to tell you that this heaven or hell, it's very scary term sometimes. So what is heaven or hell? After death, if you go into a pleasant state of existence, means you are leaving the body in a very pleasant mood and very happy, it is called heaven. When you are in love, happiness and joy, it is heaven. Don't think that heaven is some place, but it is a state of mind actually. When you leave the body in a state of mind which is pleasant, happy, then in the higher planes you remain in that state, and that is what is your heaven. If you go into the unpleasant state of existence, it is called hell. That means when you are in anger, hatred, ego, jealousy, you are already in hell here, and in that state of mind when you are leaving the body, then you go to the lower realms of planes or existence, and you suffer there because mind suffer. Remember, the soul does not suffer. Soul is free from suffering. It is your mind who is having this experience of heaven and hell, means suffering, pain or enjoyment. So after death, discernment is completely absent. The soul cannot distinguish easily, even more than in a child. Then whatever quality you put into your mind, it will multiply a millionfold. This is what is being referred to as heaven or hell. So these are not geographical locations. These are experiential realities that a life which has become disembodied is going through. So in whatever state of mind you are leaving the body, that itself remains in the higher planes, and that is what is your heaven or hell. You'll ask, what is the purpose of heaven and hell? So let me finish quickly. In the ultimate sense, the purpose of afterlife is neither to punish nor reward the soul, but to remind them of the true purpose of their existence. In the final analysis, the difference between heaven and hell is immaterial because both are part of the great illusion that characterizes the whole creation. The difference is very much like the difference between a good dream and a bad dream. It should not matter to the soul whether it has gone to heaven or to some hell, because the soul is eternally pure and not subject to pain and suffering. It is the residual jiva or individual, that part which leaves the body and goes to the higher planes after death, which is subject to the process of learning through pain and pleasure in the temporary worlds of heaven and hell. That means it is the mind, not the soul. So the mind has to learn to be pure, to be divine. And for that reason, for that learning, there is this state of mind or that favorable, conducive environment to learn, which is known as heaven and hell. So it is experiential state. It's not geographical location. So once the learning is accomplished in those planes we call heaven and hell, and the effects of its previous karma is exhausted, it returns to the earth to continue its existence. So a jiva or individual soul which goes to heaven will enjoy the pleasure of heaven, and in the end realizes that seeking heavenly pleasure is not the ultimate goal, since however intense these pleasures may be, they would not last long. They will come to an end. A soul which falls into darker world gets a taste of horror of the evil it tried to promote on earth. What we do here, so we get the result accordingly. And with a multiplier effect and with an intensity and severity that would make the mind realize the horrors of evil in hell. So it is again the mind is suffering, and this, because subtle body is mind is part of subtle body. You don't have physical body and soul does not suffer. Thus, in either case, the purpose of heavens and hells is to impart an attitude of wisdom and detachment to the souls. However, how far these lessons will leave their imprint upon the souls and mold their future lives, we don't know. Because once they return to the earth consciousness, because of power of Maya or the elusive force, they may forget much of what they have learnt or unlearned and revert to their old ways when they are born again. Hence, the need for many lives and learning and relearning the same lessons till they become an integral part of the education, it continues. So don't worry about heaven and hell. Do your best. This is your heaven, and you carry that state and experiential state to other plane, and you enjoy that. However, we'll finish our talk today. We'll talk more about the Pitraloka, which is very interesting, and how one can help the soul to ascend, be free from spirit form and ascend for onward journey, how to prepare them, what are those prayers, what is that process, we'll discuss in our next class. Let us close the eyes for a moment. Praying for all. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May all become happy and healthy, loving, noble and generous. May there be more love, peace, harmony. Let there be no suffering or sorrow. May the blessings of God and Masters be upon us all and everywhere. Om. Amen. Thank you all. See you on next Sunday. Till then, meditate nicely, do good, be good. Thank you all.